we couldn't see real technologies coming into the food industry. It was very conservative, I would say. And as an entrepreneur, I was amazed. I just thought about it, that what we can do in addition to what we have today into the food industry, how much innovation we can bring to that segment.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Food is changing all around us, and today we're going to meet one of the bigger influencers in the space. Meet Racheli Vizman, co-founder and CEO of SavorEat. Racheli Vizman has years of experience in the entrepreneurial arena and in leading companies for IPOs in the technology and healthcare industry. Before founding SavorEat, she served as COO at Beyond Air, a clinical stage medical device and biopharmaceutical American-Israeli company. SavorEat went public on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange in the first IPO of a food tech company in Tel Aviv. Racheli Vizman, thank you for joining me on 20-Minute Leaders. Welcome from SavorEat. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Really happy to be here today.
Thank you for spending these 20 minutes with me. There's a personal story here behind SavorEat that I'm excited to hear about. But I'm also looking forward to learning a little bit more about what it takes to bring, healthcare and these types of companies to IPO, both in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange or also a part of Beyond Air from inception, really, until it went public in the US. And I'm looking forward to hearing that story as well. And more generally, what you've learned in the domain that you're in. So Rachel, before we even talk about, SavorEat or Beyond Air, who is Rachel? If you look at your career and who you are, how would you characterize yourself?
I think that I born and raised as an entrepreneur, all the time looking for to identify problems and to try to find solution for them. I think that's what drives me. Identifying problems and trying to think about, in a creative way, how to solve it. I would say that my main focus, the entire career path, I only focused on innovations and work for startups and with startups that makes our life better in terms of quality of life, in terms of health. Most of my career path, I focused in the healthcare industry, trying to develop drugs, devices, diagnostics for treating people for many years, where combined technology and technology and science and definitely also businesses. And what defines me that I'm an optimistic. I'm trying to look on the bright side of the things that I'm facing with, and trying to be creative and to believe that in the end we will find the best solution, that we should drive for it.
Right. And so you study biotechnology, and then you get your master's from Northwestern University in the Kellogg School of Management. Is it a plan that that you're going to be going into, biotechnology in the tech space and work with startups and help them grow?
I don't know, the life that, the way that I was raised, my father, he was also an independent, kind of an entrepreneur. That this is part of the things that I, grow up with. So I didn't know that I will have my own startup. It wasn't so popular at that time that I was in a young age. But definitely, as I realized, what I like more and what I like less, and the things that I want to do in my life. So I definitely felt like, that's my place. I want to deal only with startups. And, and once I got some success, so it even drives me more to make additional impacts and to bring new innovations to reality. I think that in the beginning, when I was young, all the time I was very interested in science. So during school, in the army, in the academics, I learned and studied science. So that's part of who I am. And through those years of my career path, I also developed additional tools like business tools that I was lucky to collaborate and to work with great companies and great startups with great leaders and mentors that provide me that aspect as well in terms of business. And I closed it up when I went to the international executive MBA at Kellogg to get a formal recognition and also to get additional ideas and thoughts and create a networking that will allows me to grow faster.
Right. And so with, I'm going to skip quickly over, your time as chief operating officer at Beyond Air, because I really want to hear the story of SavorEat. And one of the things that I gain a lot of inspiration from is, the personal stories that bring to a need, and actually that need then gets translated to, a company that actually, then becomes traded publicly. So tell me a little bit about SavorEat and how it started.
My story is it's quite unique. You asked me about my passion, my history, and did I thought about only having a science part of what I'm doing. So most of my career path, I focused at the healthcare industry, and I thought that probably I would continue doing healthcare and continue to develop drugs, medicals, and diagnostics. And like 6.5 years ago, I passed through a very severe episode, a medical episode, that I needed to adapt in order to deal with that episode. I needed to adapt a very strict diet. I couldn't consume high fat, no sugar, no salt.
Wow.
Very less carbohydrate as much as possible, and trying to avoid, high cholesterol things that can cause, like eggs and stuff like this. And I was really frustrated because I couldn't find very good food to eat. I didn't find delicious things that I got used to. I couldn't consume it. It was part of my previous preparation for the IPO for my previous company that I worked for. It was very stressful time for me, and I had almost nothing to eat.
Wow.
So in a way, I just stopped eating. I just eat the minimum things that I needed and drink a lot of water. I lost a lot of weight. And what, makes me very unique, I'm very passionate and energetic personality. I was very weak, frustrated. And I realized that it's much more bigger than, getting into the area of developing drugs, devices. So instead of focusing on that area and trying to treat people by drugs and devices, but rather think about it, what's caused us to be sick, what's caused us to be ill, and trying to get food in order to prevent from us to taking drugs and to use medical devices. So that was a tipping point when I realized that I need to focus my energy in a different direction. And I got interest in the food industry. And, and my imagination was at that time, if I would have a machine that would make me food according to what I need, according to what I want, but not trying to get into the supermarket and trying, to make a puzzles in order for something for me to consume rather than just broccoli, that will be amazing, And I said, okay, probably someone invented it. I will go to Google and I will try to search for it. And I searched it in Google. I couldn't find it. It was just, in scientific articles or in movies, but not a reality and not a real solution. So at that time, I was really interested in, getting into the food industry. And I realized that, I'm talking about 6.5 years ago, before Beyond Meat and Impossible and on the entire food tech ecosystem that we hear a lot about it through the recent years. And, through the recent, in the last 2 years, I would say that there is a huge progress in the food tech industry. Prior to that, it was, most of the innovations was managed by, the largest giant like Unilever, Nestle, and the big names that they, in the end, they innovated. They did some innovative approach, but they mainly innovated their own product line. So we couldn't see real technologies coming into the food industry. It was very conservative, I would say. And as an entrepreneur, I was amazed. I just thought about it, that what we can do in addition to what we have today into the food industry, how much innovation we can bring to that segment. And that was a tipping point when I realized that I'm moving to the food industry, whatever it takes. And I'm going to focus on taking Beyond Meat and making it successful and pass through that public offering and get the company public and make all the other investors and shareholders and stakeholders happy with the result of Beyond Air. And I'm moving to the food industry, and I'm taking a break. I did a break of about a year and searching for a solution that will answer my need. And I was really lucky to find my partners, Professor Oded Shuseyev and Professor Ido Barslevsky from the Agriculture University in Israel, like 5 minutes from where I'm living. It's completely crazy. I went to the US, I went to Europe, I talked with all the, scientists here, most of the scientists in many universities, and 5 minutes from where I'm located, I find my partners. Yeah, it's crazy. And, we talked about it, and I told them what I'm interested in and whether they have some technological solution for that. And, together, they developed something quite unique for a different application, for a different segment. And, we took it, we designed it, redesigned it, and we built together, we incorporated together SavorEat in the end of 2018. And what we are doing at SavorEat, we are developing a new way to recreate unique experience, the taste, the flavor of meat, using proprietary plant-based ingredients that was developed by the Agriculture University and at SavorEat, together with a smart robot that allows us to create variety of delicious product, tasty meat with no cholesterol, without any patent of conscience, that can be easily prepared just with a push of a button. Everything is being done automatically within a few minutes. You get a product that manufactured and grilled, and you can take it out of the machine, put it on a bun, and enjoy the minute. So this is what we are doing. And today, as you mentioned, we are traded in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. We are a public company, and we are about to start a very large pilot at BBB chain. This is the largest burger chain in Israel within a few months. And, the way that when we envision ourselves, in the beginning of 2022, we are planning to get into the US market as well and trying to penetrating SavorEat product in that territory as well. And quite exciting about that, quite excited about the change that we are aiming to bring to that market. And I feel like I'm very privileged to be part of it and to leave a better world behind us, in a way, part of a legacy into that market. So this is who we are, and have
amazing.
Additional questions, please.
And first of all, obviously the mission and the story and the execution and the 5 minutes from home, and that's all of that is incredible. Tell me a little bit about the decision to go public on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Not a trivial decision. Not one that I come across often. I actually think you might be the first or the second person I have on the show that is that took this route, and 2 years or 3 years after inception. So what led to that decision on your end?
As an entrepreneur, one of the things that we got used to do is all the time. Be optimistic, but at the same time, be pessimistic. So all the time you need to have a list of opportunities and options. You have an option A, you have an option B, you have an option C, D, E, and so forth. So one of the options that we had on table, because one of the investors that invested us privately before we would become an IPO, was one of the largest institutional investors in Israel. And they came to us and they said, okay, there is an opportunity now in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange that we can take you public, because it's relatively very interesting story. You have a very huge progress, and it seems like it's going to fit that platform. Okay, I said, okay, I'm not saying no. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm keep my mind open. So let's trying to bring that option to the table and trying to examine it together with all the other options, getting into the VCs and getting funds from VCs, and the advantage and the disadvantage of each stage, and the time frame, and one of the major resources for a startup to be successful, one of its major forces that they need in order to become successful are resources. We need resources in terms of time, in terms of money, and you can't buy time. So that process, we have realized that will take us faster. We can raise enough money for us up until commercialization. So this is was the major part of the decision. So if we will go to a VC, we had a plan to raise about $7 million, $5 to $7 million, with a specific conditions as a VCs. And while you're going into the IPO, you can raise much more money than that. And, that can give you some kind of a window to develop your product without being, taking care of all the fundraising through that process up until you commercialize your product. That's a huge advantage for a startup, with lack resources. So that was one of the reasons why we made that decision. And, and again, I think that we also got a very huge PR from that area. People are getting to recognize us and come to us, and you have a potential collaborations talking about collaborating with SavorEat. That is also part of what is going on when you're going public. And, there are some disadvantages like life. So, yes, it's quite unique. I would admit we were the first food tech company that was taking that path. After us, we saw additional companies are taking the same path. At least 3 additional companies after us came to an IPO.
Wow.
And we are very happy with to date, we're very happy with the decision.
What I'm taking away from this, and obviously, every situation requires a different, consideration. And I'm sure that we just scratched the surface here with the various considerations that came into play here. But this idea that at any given moment, you have a variety of possibilities and a variety of options from option A to option E, and being confident in being able to logically reason through those and then understand what is the best one. And obviously having that institutional investor that opens up that opportunity that maybe not a lot of even entrepreneurs know exists, or knows the pros and cons, because we're getting used to this, to our normalcy in the industry, where it's not in the consciousness at that stage of a company. But it sounds like in your specific case it made a lot of sense. And I have to say that you're dealing in a market that I'm personally extremely passionate about. I have no doubt that companies like SavorEat in this industry are going to be the forefront of the world and the way that we sustain ourselves, and the fact that it comes out of a personal experience, and the working with the agriculture university and the everything automatic and robot. You're combining a bunch of industries together into a customer experience that is well beyond just reinventing meat. It is the idea of how do we handle the food from inception to production, which I think is amazing. But Rachel, now I'd like to ask you a few questions, and not about SavorEat, but about you. Are you ready?
Okay, good.
All right. So we'll start off with your favorite subject all the way back in middle school or high school. Your favorite subject.
Favorite subject. I want to be honest with you, sport, because I didn't like studying too much when I was young. So sport was my best class.
Even though you went to study biotechnology, it's interesting.
Yeah, I studied also, biology and chemistry at school, but that was really quite exciting for me.
Yeah,
take a break from everything that I was studying. Yeah.
Who would be a role model of yours, or some figure of inspiration in your life?
Okay, so I admire 2 people in my life. One of them is my father, and the other one is Shimon Peres. God bless his soul, our founding father, the Israeli founding fathers that, one of his recent job, he wrote his last book called "There Is No Room for Small Dream," and this is if you will come to our office and you will see that message that
wow.
Our founding fathers bring to our life, in terms of not to giving up your dreams and trying to get your dreams into reality. And I think that, I have his books here, and, he's a legacy for me. And, he's one of my inspirations, people.
I love it. And what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
I think that, I would try to think about what others would think about me. I think that I'm very energetic personality, a lot of energy surrounding me. I'm trying to spread it all over. So I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. When I have a mission and I want to achieve it, no one can stop me. It's like I will get there no matter what. So I think that this is a part of who I am, and I'm an optimistic, a crazy optimistic. I'm trying to look on the bright side of life, and I was gifted. I'm waking up every morning smiling, going back to sleep smiling. Although we have a lot of challenges and difficulties, but this is part of who I am, and I'm trying to think, very positive, because I believe that once you think positive, the creation and the things that you are doing probably will go into the right direction. So that's what drives me. And this is who I am.
Rachel, thank you so much. This was amazing. Best of luck with SavorEat. I can't wait to go and taste it for myself in the restaurants.
Yeah, so come to BBB Chains really soon. We will start at October this year.
Wow.
Yes, in Rehovot, Herzliya, and other places. So come visit us and taste it. Taste the future. Take a bite from our future.
I love it. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for coming here.